All right, so we're live. I'm just waiting for Cindy. I'll let you know when we're ready, I guess.
I just want everyone to know that I'm situating myself so you can all see the cow. I know we're live already, but. And then you can see my quilt design hanging on my wall.
Awesome. Aiden, should we just go ahead maybe, and then we'll just.
Yeah, want to get started.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to Dry Eye Happy Hour. I'm Rebecca at the Dry Eye Foundation, and in the office next door to me is Aiden, also from the foundation. And we've got 3 panels here so far. One of them is Mandy, who's also from the foundation. I'm going to introduce everybody or have them introduce themselves in just a couple minutes here. And we've got one more we're waiting on. For anybody who is new to Dry Eye Happy Hour, this is our way of getting connected, having conversations, and finding some common ground in our dry eye journeys. And today's topic is the need for validation. What happens when we can't make our experiences and our needs understood? And what does it look like to not be believed or understood when something is affecting us this much? I think this is a pretty universal issue in the dry eye world. Most importantly, what we can do about it. So let's get started. I'm going to have our panelists introduce themselves, and then we'll jump into our questions. In about an hour, we'll see if there's anybody who wants to have their audio and video turned on and join in. And we'll just be sharing after that some more just resources for people. So our tradition for introducing people is to have them answer some questions. Those are what state you live in, what beverage you're drinking, how long you've had dry eye and why, if you know, where you're at in your dry eye journey now, and what eye drops you used last. So let's see, Natalie, let's start with you.
Okay. So I'm Natalie. I have had dry eye for about 6 years due to computer use through a course. So I'd went to college and done graphic design, and a couple of months into it, I woke up with dry eye. Not sure, as to, sort of ways to go around this, because I was never told it was chronic. So, here I am with this. I currently just made myself a coffee. That's why I went downstairs. I often drink coffee because it keeps me awake, because one of the symptoms I have is being tired constantly. The last eye drops I've been trying is Clinitas eye drops. And also, it's not really a state, but I'm based in Scotland, Glasgow.
Great, thanks, Natalie. And it's, again, very kind of you to be doing this so late at night over there. Really appreciate that. All right, Justin.
Great, thanks, Rebecca. I live in San Francisco, California. The beverage I'm drinking is actually just water at the moment because I'm still working. But hopefully drinking some wine later this evening. I've had dry eye for about 10 years. I haven't known why until about 3 months ago, actually. And the current hypothesis is that I don't close my eyelids all the way when I blink. And I never noticed it at night with not fully closing my eyelids, because it really doesn't look like I don't close my eyelids, but under high-speed videography, my current ophthalmologist was able to see that. And then in addition to that, I don't produce enough tears, but luckily I'm okay on the oils front. Where am I at in my journey now? I think I've gone through all of the stages of questioning, like not understanding, questioning, anger, frustration, depression. And I think I'm now like on an upswing, which is great. Like I'm starting to get some good traction with some various solutions, and I'm working with a great physician at the moment, which I'm really happy about. So at the moment, very hopeful, and starting to see some good symptom relief. Eye drops, I actually have started to use PRGF, platelet-rich growth factor serum drops. So that's what I'm currently using.
Great, thank you. Yeah, the whole incomplete blink or lids not fully closing is just such a commonly overlooked thing. You can go a long time without having anybody identify that. So it's one of those, I think, just really important to share about. Mandy. Can you unmute there?
Yeah, I bet our regular attendees to these are sick of hearing my introduction,
No,
but
it's been a while. We needed to
I
get
know it has been a while. And so for those of you who have never watched this before, I love to look very lovely and wear these fantastic glasses because I don't think our doctors tell us about them enough or at all. And they are called moisture chamber glasses. And although my eyes have felt pretty crappy lately, they're really great for when you're staring at a computer all day, like many of us do. So they help retain moisture. I'm not plugging any company, I'm just plugging the idea. So I live in Madison, Wisconsin. You can see the map of Madison and the cow. I'm representing my state. I am drinking Tailside Pinot Noir. I don't know, it's from Aldi. I just went there and bought a lot of wine. Because it's 5 o'clock here. How long have I had dry eye? Since I was 19. I'm 43. You can tell I'm very mature, 43. So I don't know why I have it. I do not produce very many tears at all and haven't since then. My Schirmer's like 2. I don't know. I don't even know what it is anymore. I don't even pay attention because that's where I am in my journey. It's just, it is what it is, to use a very overused phrase. And I do have my ups and downs. I have days where they feel so horrible and I'm like, how can I go through another day? But I also have had this long enough that I know the next day is going to be completely different. And I have learned to deal that there are ups and downs. And I honestly, I say this in every introduction that I do, but I'm kind of like, how much worse can they get dryness wise? I know there'll be a lot of other things that will go on with them. So at least I won't be coming across this dryness issue when I'm 70 and not know what to do. It'll just be there already. And then other people will be catching up after they have cataract surgery and everything else. Anyway, long-winded. It's been a long day. What eye drops did I use last? I just used some basic Refresh Plus. I find the Refresh products are best for me. Just the basic Refresh Plus and Celluvisc. My eyes don't handle a lot of other things very well. Rebecca and I have talked about developing a spreadsheet for everyone to use, and I'm failing at producing it, but so everyone can keep track of various eye drops that they use and whether or not they made their eyes feel better or worse, and kind of use them for like a month. So you're not just like using them for 2 days and that's a day where it's just weird outside and there's other factors affecting you. And then once you've tried several different drops, you can look at the ingredients, see if there's a certain type of main ingredient that seems to across the board help you. Anyway, we're hoping to get a spreadsheet out there that people can use. So
Yeah.
that's a long-winded introduction. So hi.
Good. On the drops thing, and yeah, we've talked about this, and I personally, I guess I'll just do my bit. I'm in Poulsbo, Washington, and I'm drinking water, and I've had dry eye for about 20 years since LASIK. Where I'm at in my journey right now, I'm usually generally pretty good. Mandy talked about ups and downs and the variability, and that's such a thing with dry eye. And it's easy to forget, even in kind of evaluating stuff that we're trying, that without any other variables, dry eye just goes up and down and all over the place sometimes. So my down this week was a couple of days ago. I had some kind of bad reaction to a solution in my sclerals, and it didn't come on until I'd been at work for like an hour in the morning, and then my eyes were just raging and on fire. So I had to take out my lenses, and then I couldn't see, and I was hurting like hell. And Aiden can attest to how grumpy I got that day until I was able to put my lenses back in. But it was just, it really makes me feel sometimes like I think that I've got this all under control because I've been doing it so long and I can take it all in stride, but there's still that fragility of feeling like a bad day can tank me pretty fast. But like Mandy said, it's, you know, next day will be different. Next day will be better. And it was and is, so that's good. But what I was about to say about drops was I'm actually trying something sort of kind of new, but it's really old. I don't really do homeopathic drops because I just, for a certain level of severity, I just don't think they do anywhere near enough. I think of them as something that's maybe helpful for people with mild dry eye. But I just happened to get the sample pack from Natural Ophthalmics, who makes all these homeopathics. And I noticed they were in like preservative-free multi-dose bottle, and I like that bottling technology. So I thought, what the heck, I grabbed one, and I'm actually, this week, I've been using it as a scleral lens wetting drop. I have a really low tolerance for using any kind of regular artificial tears over my sclerals. So I'd like something really watery, but saline is like just too watery. Somehow this is helping me today. Anyway, let's see. So do we have Cindy? Oh, yay, we have Cindy. All right, Cindy, you are just in time. Can you tell us our usuals, where you are, what you're drinking, how long you've had dry eye and why, where you're at, and what drops you're using? Cindy, do we have you? Hello? Shoot. Oh, well, we will circle back. Cindy, if you can hear me, just jump in whenever your audio comes on. Aiden, you want to do?
Just 1 second, emailing Cindy. Well, I'm Aiden. I'm in Poulsbo, Washington, on the other side of the wall from Rebecca. I work for the Dry Eye Foundation. I don't have dry eye, but I've been working here and around with other dry eye patients for a while, and I'm just drinking water.
Great. I just want to say I really appreciate the panelists that are joining, and extra special shout out to Cindy for helping find people and persuading them to volunteer and do this. I really, really appreciate it. So Cindy and Mandy, I've known quite a long time. Justin and Natalie are newer to me, and it's fun getting to know your stories. So let's jump in to our main topic here about the issue of validation in dry eyes. So what we're going to do is talk about our experiences with people validating or failing to validate our dry eye experiences and how they're impacting our life. How does that make itself felt? How important is it to us to be believed? How does it affect us when we're not? We're going to just speak to that in the context of any relationships. Eye doctors, I think, are probably the top topic, but also family, friends, employers, other people in our lives. Justin, I'm going to ask you to lead off on this one. 10
Sure.
years with dry eye. I bet you've had plenty of experience with this.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting way to position the question. I actually wouldn't say initially I didn't feel that I wasn't believed. I didn't even know that it was like that big of a deal for me or in general. And I've probably seen over 15 different optometrists and ophthalmologists across like 4 or 5 different states over the years. And, like when I tell people like, oh, I have dry eye, they're like, oh, yeah, do you want some eye drops? Like, what, not a big deal. But I think more recently, like over the last 2 years, my symptoms have become much more severe, to the extent where, there are days where I feel like I need to claw my eyes out of my head. And that's where I started to recognize the issue wasn't trivial. And yet I still met with a lot of physicians that really kind of went through like the traditional checklist, like Restasis. Oh, you tried that? Did you try Xiidra? Oh, like there's Cequa, like that's new. Did you try that? Have you tried plugs? Have you done meibomian gland expression? Let's test your tears. And they just kind of go through the list. And I've seen a number that just get through the list and they're like, sorry, I don't know what else to tell you. You're just going to have to live with this. And when you're at the state of feeling like you need to claw your eyes out of your head, it's not a good place. So in regards to like not having people believe, I think they believe you. And in my experience, they can be very like empathetic. They're like, I'm so sorry you experienced this and it sounds terrible. I've also had physicians who say you're describing your symptoms. The symptoms you describe are worse than your physical, like than the analysis that I'm doing of you. And only more recently did I discover research on neuropathic pain and the impact that it has on how your brain interprets the dryness of your eyes. And in doing so, I actually found the physician who I'm seeing now, who is like a huge, huge, huge researcher in this space. And he's working with me to figure out what works. So I think that it's not, in my experience, that they don't believe you. It's just sort of like recognizing that it's something that's hard to figure out. And a lot of doctors don't know how to figure it out. So you sort of have to be your own advocate in solving the problem.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I guess I should clarify, when I say believed, I really probably use a broader word than that. Although I do think, I mean, I run across situations all the time where I think what patients are reporting really isn't believed. But I think, you nailed one bit of it there with what a doctor explained to you, which was there's a mismatch often between the symptoms or what I'm experiencing and feeling and the clinical signs. But the bias in medicine is going to always be in favor of what they see and validate with testing, right? Rather than the symptoms that are reported. Natalie, let's move to you. Tell us what this has been like for you, trying to get help for dry eye. How are doctors and other people responding to you as you try and explain what's going on?
So this has actually been probably one of my biggest problems. So I've had it from family, my partner, and I've also had it from a doctor. So I've kind of in a sort of order. So when I tell my family, they do not understand. They've told me to ignore it, which hurts. There was one time in particular where I was asked to go and get something, and my eyes started watering really, really badly due to allergies. I could not see. I felt like, I felt really useless. They just sort of sighed and went, "Fine, I'll get it," and that actually really hurt me. It's like, it's not my fault that this experience had happened to me. It's painful. I can't see, and it just made me feel worse. I've had other members say ignore it. And this is when pain has been quite bad. There's been times where I can't sleep because of the pain. It's been too bad, so I'll sit and stay awake until it passes. I've also had an experience which I've actually shared with the group with my partner, where there was, I think Rebecca commented on it at one point. I did actually bring it up with him, and basically he had told me he'd been on his phone for like a certain amount of time, and I was worried because, you know, I didn't think I'd be living with dry eye for the rest of my life. I didn't think at the age of 18 that I would be dealing with this. I'm now 23. So it's been a big struggle for me. Because I know people get it at varied like ages and that. But the comment of, I think, because it was a while back, but it was basically the comment that he had said to me had hurt me. Because I was trying to be protective of him for him not to get this problem, because that would be really, really horrible. So I just had warned him. I says, that's not very good that you were on it for like a certain amount of time. And he's like, oh, it's fine. I don't have any problem with my eyes. So I sort of got upset and I snapped at him and I went, I know I buggered my eyes. And after that, I went and cried. So because I didn't know how to handle the situation with him. So that felt really, really horrible. And then I didn't know what to do. So then I asked people for advice. Because he's always like, he does want to help, but he doesn't know how to help. So after this, we've had a couple of discussions about it. And one of my main worries is I feel like because it's a chronic problem that we end up getting fed up with moaning about the pain and that, but he just says, you know, it's fine. I'll try and help you with treatments and all that. So I don't know, like, long term how that'll work out. So that was one experience I had. One of the most annoying experiences I had with one of my doctors. This was a second doctor. I won't name the doctor for whatever reason. But so this particular doctor had allergies and he's got dry eye himself. He's got seasonal allergies, and for my diagnosis, I have got MGD and I've got allergies. And I think I'm actually going to be like aqueous deficient as well after having MGD for quite a long time. So I was in an appointment with him, going through treatments like eye drops, the regular sort of stuff that you do for dry eye. And he had turned around and went to me and said, I've got worse problems than you. And I just sat there in the chair thinking, well, you can't really verify that because you don't live in my shoes and I don't live in your shoes, but you can't say that you've got worse problems than me. Right. Aye. Jack? No. I'm going downstairs. Right. Sorry, I'm swapping rooms, so I'll briefly finish what I'm saying. Sorry for this. I've been moved from one room to the next. So yeah. So basically, the experience had made me feel really horrible for the fact that somebody who I was supposed to trust and who was supposed to help me with dry eye basically turned around and went, oh, I've got it worse than you. And I'm just like, yeah, that's not helpful when you're in a situation of you're looking to someone else for help and guidance and they say it's worse for you. I also wanted to say to Justin that I actually understand how it feels to get some of the pains that you say you have. I don't know if I've actually got that as well, but there's times where I've had headaches where it's so bad I can't even concentrate, and I've had to take painkillers just to take the pain away. And it's one of these things where I don't want to rely on painkillers to get through the pain. I want to find like other methods. So I went through almost all the methods. I couldn't tolerate scleral lenses, which was a sin for me because I was really, really hoping to be one of those people. So I'm just sort of trying to explain to people and get them to realise how serious it is, because most people don't understand. They go, oh, you've got dry eye. It's not that serious, it's mild. And that really, really, really annoys me because people have got in different levels. And it shouldn't be said like that, because you wouldn't say that to somebody who possibly, it's not the same concept, but if somebody's got like a broken leg, that heals, that goes away. It doesn't with dry eye. You wouldn't say that to somebody else with like another like chronic condition. So why do you say it to somebody who has this problem? That's what I don't get.
Do you think it's the language, Natalie, that it is called dry eye? And dry eye, honestly, it's that term is used to refer to everything from, my eyes are a little watery because I've been outside or staring at a computer too long, to people who have raging corneal diseases. People can't understand that.
Yeah, I think that does come into it because they don't actually understand the diagnosis. And over here, the treatment is a bit different. So we've got some options available to, but I would like to hopefully the American products come over here. So sometimes I get a bit jealous when I see like the American people. There's not anything towards them personally. It's just I would like to try more treatments because I've went through quite a lot of treatments. So many different eye drops, eye gels, scleral lenses, IPL, punctal plugs, moisture chamber glasses that you'd sent me, which was very kind of you. I've tried the Oasis eye drops as well, ointments, gels. I think I've pretty much done it all, if I'm honest. And I'm just literally looking for more options. The only two options that I haven't fully tried is serum tears and also, pardon me, iCervis, which is Restasis, which I believe is to you guys. So I've been hoping to try them eventually. And if this place doesn't work, I'm going to possibly jump over to another place and, start again and see what they can offer me, if it's anything different or if I'm going to go through the same hoops again.
So just circling back, kind of on our validation topic, something you said, was it, sorry if I'm forgetting the details. Who was it that said, I've got worse problems than you? Was this the eye doctor?
Yep, that was the eye doctor, yep.
Yeah. I just find it an intolerable thing for any doctor to say to anyone who's walking in to
Hopefully you're not seeing that doctor anymore.
Gladly, I'm not, because it was a private place and I was so desperate. This was about like my second year in dry eye, and I thought I want to get answers because the first place didn't. And then eventually I just decided that I was going to jump over to a new place because scleral lenses were cheaper. So I'm no longer seeing that doctor anymore. And the new doctor that I'm seeing is trying to avoid doing the sort of kitchen sink method, as I think you would call it, Rebecca, where he wants to try and work through one method, check if it works. If it doesn't work, go on to the next method. Because I'm one of those people where I ask a ton of questions because I know that's relevant for dry eye. I want to know the condition, if it's getting better, if it's getting worse, and what can I do. So I think the only next thing that I'm going on to try is Blephasteem, and I keep asking to see if other people have actually had good results, because after having this for so long, doing my own compresses and that, and antibiotics and like fish oils, I'm getting to the point I'm like, I don't really know, is this going to work? Like, I feel like I've got little hope that it'll actually do anything. So I've been trying to see if other people have had good results, because that's what, like I'll think, oh, they've had good results, maybe I'll get good results as well, and I'll be able to like take control of that part of the problem.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I know of a few people, at least over the years, that have really appreciated Blephasteem, where it's just played an important role for them. There's just a ton in your story, Natalie. I'm just kind of cogitating some, and I know we'll circle back to some of these issues. But I mean, you've talked about what does it look like with a partner to maybe have a certain amount of understanding, but sometimes that understanding does not show up in the way you need it to at the time you need it to. Sometimes it just seems to reverse itself into things that are really emotionally damaging in the moment, and navigating that and then getting the understanding that we need from doctors. Okay, going to move on now to Mandy. Just the big picture here for you, your experience with people, whether you want to focus on doctors, other people in your life, whatever, with the degree to which they validate, or your experience over the years, you've got more than 20 years in this, the degree to which that's been validated for you or not, and how that affects you and what you do.
I think it depends on people's personalities. Definitely, like my dad doesn't get it, because I mean, he has knee issues now. He's 72, but prior to that, I don't really think he had many aches and pains. My mom has osteoarthritis, so I think she gets it. She's had it since she was like 44. Other people have chronic pain. I think understand it better. I'm pretty good at hiding it in front of other people, except for my family members, because I think so early on, people just didn't understand it, and I was tired of explaining it. And now I essentially just say my eyes suck, and that's why I wear these glasses, or that's why I'm using these drops. And I don't really look for validation from people anymore, because it's just depressing to try to get validation from people that don't understand. And I think, as Justin and Natalie mentioned, people will say, oh, dry eye, yeah, when it's windy out, or yeah, after I look at my computer for a while. And they just don't get it. And I found significant comfort in Rebecca and, the groups that she's created, because there are people that understand what you're going through, even if everybody's reason and symptoms are completely different from yours. They at least understand that it's a chronic daily battle. Yeah, so I guess it's not a super helpful answer in being validated, as I think I'm so far past that point of seeking validation from others, and just living with it. I guess I mentioned my dad, so I guess, parents are pretty important, and family is pretty important to getting their validation. So I guess that's probably my biggest area of concern. My dad still is like, well, why are you doing that? Why are you taking so long? Why this? And clearly that's something I need to see my therapist about and talk about. But his thoughts about it really bother me. But there's a lot of people that I'm just like, well, doesn't matter. But I also have not found, I do like my doctor as a human being, but she has a lot of other areas that she focuses on. So I'm often educating her about new products and things that are out there. And you'd think in Madison, you would have some good options with the university and all of the research that's done here, but I haven't found a good dry eye doctor here. I do have a doctor that I talk with in Stillwater, Minnesota, the Minneapolis area, who is awesome and helps me through a lot of things. And I will just message him and he will respond immediately and validate my concerns and answer my questions. So I think it's just finding the people that do understand and talking to them, rather than trying to seek validation from other people who don't understand.
Right. Yeah. It's a good point. We all have different needs for it. Some people need to be more out there with it, with people. Some people are the opposite with that. I guess I think of the validation issue at a lot of different levels. One is just there's the situations where we need to have the issue validated in order to get the solutions that we need. So with the eye doctor, if they're not taking our symptoms seriously, they're not going to help with a solution. So that's a must that they get it at some level. Then there's people at work that need accommodations. There's got to be some level of understanding there too, if they're going to get the needs met. Then the whole more nebulous world of the emotional support that we need. And there, I think we vary an awful lot. I honestly hardly ever talk to anybody about my eyes except within my eyeball circle in our Facebook group, where every now and then I'll say, hey, I'm having a bad day.
Yeah, I was just going to plus one to like what you're saying and what Minnie's saying, like I think it's so important. I've only recently discovered this, so I can't say like I'm an expert in it by any means, but I think it's critical to like build like a team for yourself. And that's not just like your ophthalmologist. Like I just started seeing a therapist and I talked to him about this. I'm seeing a doctor who's a specialist in sclerals all the way up in Sacramento, which is like a forever drive for me, but I make it because she's the best in Northern California that I can go see. And then I'm seeing another guy down in Palo Alto. And then through that, like I started seeing a rheumatologist to rule out Sjogren's, and like I've found a few care providers along the way that just like weren't great to be part of the team. So like kick them to the curb and keep looking for new allies and advocates for yourself. Super important.
I love that. And that team, I mean, there's a lot of, I like how you're referring to that and the different pieces of that, because there's the eye doctors themselves, and you've got several for different purposes there. Therapist, yeah. My therapist was on medical leave for most of this year, and I was like, you need to come back because I'm about to get cataract surgery and it's freaking me out. Anyway, but also medicine more broadly. Yes, the rheumatologist, when we got autoimmune stuff going on or potentially going on. PCP too. I mean, our primary care doctors and anyone in any part of a medical team that we can rope in for this, you know, a dual function there, really. One, we can get more help from them if they know. You never know who might actually know something useful about this that you just don't expect in the medical world. And two, it helps educate them. I mean, talking to specialists in your other medical areas that you might interact with doctors on, and mention, gosh, such and such a drug worsened my dry eye. That's something they hear, remember, take away, and can help other people too. All right, Gigi, your turn. So Gigi's been with us before also. And let's see. So can you introduce yourself? Because there's going to be people here who don't know you, and then jump in with your perspective on our questions.
Okay. Hi, Rebecca. It's good to see everybody. So my name's Gigi. I'm coming to you from Southern Illinois. I'm drinking a Tangerine LaCroix. I have been dealing with dry eye for about 10 years or so, worse since March of this year. Not sure what triggered it. I've done serum tears. I've done steroid drops. I've done goggles. I've used artificial tears. I've tried punctal plugs. I've tried omega-3s. I've tried pretty much a lot of different methods. I haven't tried scleral lenses yet, so I'm kind of have a little hope for that. As far as this topic tonight, validating, I've been pretty fortunate, I guess. I've had a little circle in my life where the people that I do talk to, I trust, and they don't fully understand what the condition is like or what it feels like, but at least they can validate it or ask how I'm doing. So I've been pretty fortunate in that respect. The eye doctor that I'm currently seeing, he's a cornea specialist in Chicago. He is not so much validating. He doesn't sit there and comfort me with my condition, but he does take it seriously. He does research in the field. So he does, address a lot of the symptoms or try to at least mitigate, and improve my quality of life. So I've been fortunate in that respect as well. And even the optometrists and the eye doctors that I saw before him were, understanding that this was a serious condition, and they took it seriously and, referred out when they had to. And so, I mean, I did have one negative experience with a doctor who was just kind of but even he gave me the benefit of doubt and said, you might want to get a second opinion for this. So I respect that he was able to say that. And, I was able to just move on and break up with him and just kind of move on with my life and find somebody new. So that's where I'm at right now. I have a follow-up appointment in January, and I don't know. I've been pretty fortunate. There are a lot of people that deal with it, and I would say, if people are not being nice to you about it, I would just kind of move on to a new person that is, because this is a hard thing to deal with. So that's been my experience.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm just pondering kind of if there's a distinction to be made between validation and empathy, because I think that there are doctors who validate our symptoms and they use the OSDI questionnaire or something else and say, oh yeah, you're very symptomatic, and they take that part seriously. Little different than the good bedside manner and gosh, how is this affecting your life and all of that. But either or both of those are good to have. I think the situations where I get concerned are when somebody's disease, like the clinical signs of disease, when their exam results don't seem that bad. And so it seems like the doctor's not taking it anywhere near as seriously as you are, or that they're just not taking on board how much this is impacting your life.
Well, that's definitely, like, I definitely fall into that boat. I produce plenty of oils, tear tests. Like, I think tear tests are bullshit, personally, but like my tests are variable with those.
When you say tear tests, you mean kind of across the board,
The
or
strip.
Oh,
The-
sure.
Yeah. But yeah, like anatomically speaking, like my eyes are like not that bad, and yet I've had dryness for 10 years. So I absolutely relate to that. And I think that was actually what turned me on to neuropathic pain. I've done a lot of reading about it over the last couple of months. Actually, same as you, Gigi, in March, my symptoms have gotten a lot worse. I don't know if it's because with COVID, I'm staring at a computer screen 20, 30% longer than I would normally, or what, but I'm having the same thing. But yeah, I think if anybody here or like viewing now or later, like hasn't seen or read about neuropathic pain, check it out. It's definitely relevant for dry eye. And I have not met any doctor until the one I'm seeing today that has even like known what that is.
Sorry, Rebecca, I'll say something about that. I think the doctor in Minneapolis who I see has definitely thinks I have some neuropathic pain, and I have some trigeminal nerve issues, which I've mentioned on the other calls, which really impact my left eye more than my right eye. Like right now, my right eye feels great. My left eye feels shitty. I'm just going to swear because everyone else is swearing and I like swearing.
Sorry, I guess I started a slippery slope.
No, Rebecca started it. Early in the call. So I definitely agree with that. I also think, so I just listened to this episode of Try Not to Blink where Rebecca was featured in the Dry Eye Zone. It's a podcast. And Rebecca mentioned something on there about validation. Well, I think it ties into what she was just talking about. I'm going on a little tangent here. But I think you said on there that it'd be really important for dry eye doctors to say, okay, this is the piece that I can help you with, even if they don't fully understand it. But, you know, you should talk to your PCP, you should get a therapist, you should do this. You know, there are other sources out there that can help you with other parts of this, because this is very encompassing and not just, what's the word? Not dimensional, but yeah, can't think of it right now.
It's a multifactorial problem. Yes,
it's not just a single plane. Is that what it would be? So, so back to the neuropathic. I do think for a lot of people that's a big component, but you know, it's not for everyone. I think that some people who haven't found relief in other ways, there's certain doctors that discuss that, and there's many doctors that don't even think of that as a potential avenue of what might be impacting you more, because like you said, my doctor will always be like, oh, your eyes look great, your meibomian glands look great. Although until recently, I've noticed that I think I have some, like, you get wrinkles on your face. I feel like I'm getting wrinkles on my conjunctiva, which is called conjunctivochalasis, I think, CCH. And after 23 years of having dry eye, I feel like that's starting to impact my eye, whereas it would impact like a 75 or 80-year-old. I get it at 43, 42. So things are just sped up. But I think the neurologic and trigeminal nerve issue is huge for me, which brings me to something Aiden just told me about, that someone was curious about why I couldn't wear scleral lenses in a past episode. And I just noticed them too much in my left eye because of the trigeminal nerve issue. So long story short, neuropathic pain.
Neuropathic pain. Yeah, this is a big one. I was just thinking about a presentation a year or two ago at GSLS, this conference in Las Vegas that was about corneal pain. And a thing I took away from it that I loved was the doctor that was presenting, is Lynette Johns, who used to be with Boston Foundation for Sight for forever. One of the things that I loved was some pages with examples of how to talk to somebody who's got corneal pain that you might or might not understand. Just thinking about the example Natalie gave of how to absolutely not talk to somebody who's got this going on. But I just loved what it went into that. But the other thing, going back also to the question of being believed or not. So in this presentation, Dr. Johns specifically addressed basically the difference between what we might bring into an appointment and what we're saying about our pain, and what's malingering or a somatic symptom disorder. I had to look that up and remind myself of the term. If they're presenting that and teaching other doctors about the difference between dry eye symptoms and those things, it's because that actually is a perception and a problem, that doctors might blow off our symptoms and think that this is something that's being made up and that isn't real. Neuropathic pain is a really big deal for people with dry eye, whether they know it or not, because it's not like we all have it, but there's the potential for it to be there. And it's something that when I first got dry eye, and you too, Mandy, and most of us who've been at this for a while, nobody had ever heard of it. It hadn't been discovered. There were no words for it. And that knowledge has slowly grown up in the specialist research circles for this. But still, there's handfuls of doctors around the world that really have a thorough understanding of neuropathic corneal pain, which it's nowhere near the level where you make an appointment with a specialist and they're likely to figure this out. They just don't know. They don't have any training in this stuff. It's really known by relatively few doctors still. That's changing. There's more and more studies out about it. There's more reports. They're learning more, but it's not understood. So what happens when you get somebody who's got some dry eye, some MGD, a couple different things, and they have neuropathic pain? So the doctor thinks that their dry eye is being all treated successfully, but they're still really unhappy because this is affecting their lives so much. There's that piece that can be there too, and it flies under the radar because it's not well understood. And I think it's important for us to know about that, because it can be a part, at least, of the explanation when nobody has an explanation out there.
Okay.
Let's see. So
wait, sorry, let me just say I didn't realize my speaker, I didn't mute myself. So I saw Justin's dog in the background, and I was just gonna say, everyone should just get a dog because they validate everything and love you regardless. You can tell your dog all of your problems. So.
Except when they just sleep.
Yeah.
All right. So it's interesting because I think we've got a couple different situations in our group here. We've got people who had dry eye basically start overnight, right? I mean, Natalie, wasn't yours very sudden?
Yeah, I woke up one day and I ended up having the problem. The weird thing about this, so before I even got this problem, I had actually come across the website for dry eye zone. I think this was possibly a month before I got the problem. And I looked at the site and I thought, like, back then, I thought, oh, it's just a site. It won't, you know, just like, honestly, like, I didn't know what to think about it. Like, I just thought, oh, you know, I don't have that. There's no point in, like, getting into it. And then I woke up one day and I had this problem. And the only way that I could describe it at the start was when I was blinking, I could hear clicking noises. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. Like, that's how I found out I had dryness. And then I went to the first optometrist, and they ended up telling me I've got dry eye. And I was advised to do warm compress, baby shampoo, and also eye drops. And I still notice that people actually advise to do baby shampoo, and I'm like, no, why are you doing that? Because it is irritating to the eyes and it can actually mess with your oil layer. But some people still actually say that it's fine, and I myself, I go against it because I couldn't tolerate it. So
There's a thing that was mentioned in a presentation at a medical conference I was at a year or two ago. I've probably told everybody about 15 times, so people are tired of hearing me say it, but it's just impressed me so much. It was basically the turnaround time from when something becomes known and fully established as medical science to when it becomes common knowledge and in common practice in medical practices. And it was like 12 years or something. It can be kind of depressing because, yeah, we know that's established now. There's studies about what does baby shampoo do to the tear film? Why should we use lid scrub type products instead and all that? But that's relatively recent knowledge. I mean, baby shampoo was a common blepharitis treatment for a really long time, and it's hard to get rid of that. It's also
horrible. Sorry, in my opinion.
It's cheap and accessible, so there's probably always going to be doctors that recommend it, but it's, in the last several years, there's been these studies showing what it does. It's like a step forward, step backward. It treats the blepharitis, but boy, can it do a number on the tear film. So we should be moving on, but yeah, it just takes time for that knowledge to work its way out there. It's not like everyone in ophthalmology and optometry gets that memo and a new thing comes out. So in that first appointment that you had, Natalie, when this first started, it sounds like what you had was pretty noticeable clinically. Did you feel like this was a big deal to them just as it was to you?
Well, at the start, I wasn't actually sure what I had. I just knew that something was off with me, so I had to go and seek help. I didn't have many symptoms. I think the only noticeable one that I had back then was, I think when it got to the summer of the following year, my eyes get so sensitive to light, and I was like, that's not right, until I realised it's a symptom of dry eye. So when I went to the optometrist to seek help, they did help me, but after a while of I think it was a couple of months, all they kept doing was throwing eye drops at me after eye drops after eye drops, and I started getting frustrated because it's like, I want something more. Like, I want more options, not just sometimes I feel like eye drops are just like band-aid treatment for symptoms. They don't actually get to the root, and that it frustrates me because I'd rather get to the root cause rather than just throwing something on top of it, because that doesn't actually help the cause. So for me, they did help me tell me, oh, you have this problem. They didn't tell me it was chronic. So I started waking up every single day with this problem. And I was told many, many times by one of my family members in particular that, oh, maybe you go back to normal. And I had that hope with me for quite a long time that, oh, I'll go back to normal and that. And it just never happens. no matter how many days, weeks, months, as the years went on, just nope, just didn't happen. So I then decided to go the private route and then jump onto the third place that I'm on now. The second place did help me quite a bit with different options, but then I just get a bit tired of it because I felt like sometimes I would go in and they wouldn't take the mental side of it very serious. And there'd be many times I just felt like I just wanted to cry because I just felt like sometimes they just weren't taking it serious, even though it's someone who has got dry eyes. So I just feel like if I do jump to another place, I feel worried that if I go to another doctor who's got dry eye, the same circumstances will happen, and I really don't want that to happen. Whereas I want help because I've been looking at other places because I've been repeatedly asked to move in with my partner, and I've not done it yet. But I know there's a couple of places in London, and I believe they're private, but there's like a few of them I've been looking at to go and see, and hope that they're better than what I'm getting now. What I'm getting now is okay, but I feel like it could just be pushed out a bit more because going through all the options, it's like very, very little helps. The only noticeable one that I can actually say helps is IPL, but due to COVID reasons over here, can't get it done. So I think that's a bit of a long answer to your question, but there you go.
Right. Just thinking about the mental health side of it and how that plays into the validation question as well. I'd be interested to hear from anyone who's got to share about this. I know it wasn't in our kind of list of questions beforehand, but there are a ton of published medical studies about the connection between dry eye, depression, and anxiety. This is not new. There's been studies going on for a long time. There's an awful lot of them. But I'm not sure about the extent to which that's something eye doctors commonly know and can help put that in perspective for us, as in when I've got somebody who's obviously very symptomatic, to be able to say, depression and anxiety are pretty common problems. If you think that's an issue for you in relation to dry eye, maybe talk to your primary care doctor, maybe see about getting some help. What's been your experiences, everyone, with, to the extent you'd like to share, with how your eye doctors, how seriously they take the mental health aspect of dry eye?
I don't think mine thinks about it at all. She's just kind of like, okay. Like I see her every few months. Well, not anymore. Now we do a video thing, which I'm like, okay, that really helps. You can not look at my eyes, especially when I'm wearing glasses like this, on a video chat. And she's just kind of like, okay, yeah, everything looks fine. I'll see you in 3 months, make an appointment, and I don't feel like I get any mental health assistance from my eye doctor. My primary care is awesome in that respect and kind of looks at the whole picture. I guess that's what a primary care doctor does, and mentions other avenues. Answering that question.
Yeah, I don't even mean necessarily that an eye doctor could or should try and help with the mental health side of it per se, but just more that they're aware and supportive of that need, as opposed to the thing I hear way too often, which is eye doctors simply telling people, don't take those antidepressants because they might make your dry eye worse, which is really, because you really want the ones that are experts in the thing.
My eye doctor does not talk to me about any of that. It's just very matter of fact, like Gigi was saying, but I also feel like I've been seeing her for so long that she's just kind of like, okay, well, next time we'll see you again. There's not, and like I said, can't find someone else here to see, although Gigi did tell me about her doctor in Chicago, and so I will likely look into that. I haven't yet, sorry Gigi, but thanks for sending the info. And yeah, as for my primary care doctor, and let's talk about the antidepressant thing a little bit. I am on lots of anti-anxiety, antidepressant things. So I know, I think for me, depression is an issue, but I think the anxiety just with my personality is significantly more. And I also have chronic migraines. Like I just took some migraine med before this, and, you know, drinking a glass of wine, probably not a good combo, but I do it because I've had them for so long, as long as I've had dry eye, that I'm just like, well, this is my life, you know? So where was I going with that? So anxiety, I take a lot of anxiety meds, and I have tried so many different ones. And honestly, I don't think that's what's causing my dry eye, because I've gone off of them a lot for a significant period of time to try it out. And my anxiety just got so bad that I went back on it. So I think that people shouldn't be afraid of trying them, and just see if it does impact you or not, because the benefits of taking them are significant, in my opinion. No medical advice given.
I think it's a message people need to get really broadly. Don't be afraid to try things. Just because 6 people in a Facebook group somewhere said it didn't work for them or had some side effects, I mean, it might not work for you. There's all these other people that might not be answering that question at that particular moment of that particular day. But there's a lot of stuff that does work for people and does help. Let's talk about communication strategies. So obviously we don't always share all of our dry eye stuff with everyone, but in those situations where you need someone to understand, whether you need your eye doctor to understand so you can get them on board for whatever next step in treatment you need to take, or for them to find new things for you, or to work with you on finding things, or maybe it's family, partner, friend, someone that you need some support from. What do you do to try to explain better when you're kind of struggling with that communication side? Strategies, anybody want to share?
I don't know if it's okay for me to go first.
Please.
So I'm going to sort of answer the question before also this one, if that's okay. Because the mental side of this has been quite a big thing for me. So I've actually previously dealt with depression and anxiety before this problem, due to other reasons. But with the dry eye, it just makes it so much worse, because people don't really think that it will affect you that badly when it comes to mental health. They just look at you and go, oh, your eyes are fine. Like the amount of times that I've been to eye doctors and they'll tell me, oh, your eyes look perfectly clear. But yet I have horrible red veins and I used to never have it. I can't really tolerate makeup, so that sort of like makes me feel horrible that I can't wear makeup. It sounds so silly to say, oh, can't wear makeup. You know, there could be like very other like reasons, but I used to be one of those people that like love wearing makeup, eyeliner, mascara, you know, all that sort of deal. And I only do it once every so often, so that does affect me, and it sort of getting the appearance part as well for that. And then the next question, which I've sort of forgot, if you could just remind me of what you're actually saying.
It's about communication strategies. What kind of ideas have you used, or ways that you get stuff across to people when you need to about what's going on?
So if I've been in pain in particular, I've had to say that I need to take like painkillers just to help, or just like sit and lie down, have a nap if it helps. And just sort of relax and like sort of avoid like watching screens or bright lights and that. If it's communication with any of my doctors and that, there has been one of my GPs that have been very, very good, where I've went to them, I've told them, look, this is a problem I've had it for a long time, I don't know what to do. They had actually listened to me, looked at my eyes and told me they were inflamed. And straight away they went, okay, you're going to go up to the eye hospital. And they referred me as soon as possible. And it was one of the probably the best times where I actually felt validated from a doctor, from a GP. because I've had other GPs where I've walked in crying and they just look at me and they're like, well, we can't do anything, go to your optometrist. I don't really understand. So he actually wrote a letter based on what I told him, expressing how I feel when I went up to the eye hospital. And I basically get shouted at because I was meant to go in to the eye hospital. I'd waited several months to go for an appointment and I never get anything in. And I think it was actually more than a couple of months, I think it was a year. I was referred previously a year before, heard nothing back, and then I finally managed to go up. And the doctor that I seen was more concerned about COVID. And I was like, well, I haven't really, haven't been up to see anybody that will actually probably deal with this. So it was helpful for the GP point of it, but when I went up to the eye hospital, it wasn't really that helpful. I would say communication is a big one because it's a good way to actually communicate when you're in pain. Just speaking to someone else when you're in pain helps, like especially like a lot of the groups where you can just post and say, oh, you're having a bad day, or you're having these symptoms, or maybe you're having a good day and you can say, oh, this is what helped me, is there anybody else that's like this? And you actually find similar ways to get around it. So I think that it sort of can go two ways. It can go a good way and a bad way. It just depends on, I would say, the person and the situation and how well the actual communication goes, personally, because I've had a mixed range of both sides of it, and that's probably all I'm going to say to that.
I'm just thinking about the groups here since you mentioned, and I know I've kind of indulged a fair amount lately when I've had bad eye days, just posting on there. And I watch when other people do too. And much as I love the groups and I dearly love them, I sometimes I feel like people need to be able to just post and say that they're having a bad day and get the sympathy, but not necessarily the 82 suggestions for new treatments or things, or have you tried this, that, or the other? And most of us have checked an awful lot of those, not most, a lot of us have checked a lot of those boxes, or we're just in a place where we've got our treatments. They work for us 95% of the time. We cope in the 5%, but we just kind of want a kind word when we're in that 5% of the time or less too. So yeah, it's like I would just want a sympathy only please flag on posts occasionally on the group to say, hold the suggestions. I've already been there and done all of those. That's not to discount the kind thoughts that go into it, because I know people really do care. All right, other suggestions from anybody about communication strategies?
I'll second the I'm just having a bad day thing and wanting the validation. I think my family has gotten to the point, like I was saying earlier, I don't talk about it with many people anymore, but my immediate family, my mom is good at it. My husband is great. My kids, they just are used to it. That's all they've ever known with me. They're my stepkids, and for 10 years now, they've just known I have dry eyes. And so I'm like, okay, bad day. And they're just like, okay. So it's the validation. It's the, I don't understand exactly what you're going through, but okay, sorry, you're having a bad day. And they've gotten to that point. And like I was saying earlier, I just don't communicate it to people that don't understand anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's a question of like, if you're communicating to friends, family versus physicians, since you have to sort of like parse who you're speaking to and why. And if kind of, we were discussing, like, you really do need a team. If you were to talk to somebody with MS, like, they go out and they find a care team for that. That's a very complicated disease and treatment isn't widely known. And unfortunately, this condition is not people, if you said I have MS versus I have chronic dry eye, I think, like, people would be like, oh, well, like, your problem is not that big of a problem. But I think just understanding who you're talking to, I think it's also really important to frame the story quickly, but also provide evidence that the physician needs to like internalize what it is they need to like talk to you about. I think a lot of us go to the doctor and we just start like off the top of our head, like, yeah, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on. And they're like, okay, great. Like trying to listen, half typing up the notes, like half listening. And what's been working well for me is I actually now, like every visit, I get them to send me the post-op, or not post-op, but post-visit notes. So I have all my charts, I have all my notes. This is actually a friend recommended this idea who has keratoconus, and he's in sclerals now, but he said over like many years, he has a binder, and he walks into the office and he's like, here's my binder. I'd like you to read it. You know, I can wait, or, you know, here it is ahead of time. I'll book a follow-up, whatever you need to do to like get them onto your page. Because that, especially if you're like going across a lot of different care providers, it's so difficult to like get them up to speed on all the clinical notes that you've kind of like racked up over the years. So I don't have a binder, but I do have all of like my notes digitally in a big PDF, and they're like, wow, that's like a 17-page PDF. I've never gotten something like that before. I'm like, did you read it? And they're like, yeah, actually I did. So that's been really effective for me.
That is so key. I think that's like a thing everybody should do when they're, especially if they're going to a new doctor for dry eye, or just needing some extra special attention from an existing one. Get them some information ahead of time. This is something a doctor taught me many years ago about this. It's partly just for the attention factor. You are different. You are breaking their routine in the day. It's something more interesting and off the beaten track when a patient actually reaches out to try and educate them about their situation ahead of time. That's a big deal. And also just giving them the opportunity to get through some stuff before they see you. I actually just went through that this week because I have a cataract consult coming up next week. And so I wrote up a thing because this is a doctor I've never seen before, and was kind of writing up what's my history, what I want out of the appointment, what my priorities are, what I don't care about, and just kind of framing it for them medically, but also where I'm coming from and what I need for that appointment. Just to give them a chance to familiarize ahead of time, I think is super good. Wanted to share a couple of things just that I've worked on a bit over the years, just kind of on bigger picture. How do we get better recognition for this? How do we get a better understanding from the medical community, for example? And one is just working with researchers to try and get our voices and our experiences heard and understood better. So, you know, kind of getting to doctors from their own language, their own peer-reviewed journals, so they're hearing our story through that. So that's one of the things we do with the foundation and our mailing list. When you see those emails come through that ask you to participate in a survey of some kind, I hope everyone would think really seriously about doing that, even if it's going to take a little while. That stuff really makes a big difference. I mean, the first one we did like that a few years back about dry eye patients' priorities for dry eye research, what we want in research. We ended up with the ones that they were able to use, there were more than 400 patients. And in the publishing world, that's a really big deal. It was a large cohort. So it just has a potential for a lot of impact. The more people we can get participating, the better. Opportunities sometimes come up for us to put together things that doctors can use to teach other doctors about us too. We get requests for that sometimes, like we had one last year and then ended up not doing it because of COVID shutting down some conferences, but they wanted a video that was going to explain from our perspectives, what is eye pain, what is corneal pain or dry eye pain like? I was thinking in listening to some of you today, you especially Natalie and well, everyone, about what it's like trying to communicate with family, how it would be if we had a video specifically for friends and family or just your personal support team, that something someone could watch, a 2-minute, 3-minute video that would show this is not just you saying, I've got this problem. There's people all over the country, all over the world that have this, and it's impacting them greatly. And hear their stories, you know, in a compact form that won't take too much of their time. I think it has the ability to be transformative. with people. I know one of the things I hear a lot from people is I'm struggling with getting my family to understand this in those situations where they need some support. So if anybody's got ideas or wants to volunteer for projects like that, those are things that really excite us here.
Yeah, to that, this is our 10th happy hour, and I feel like we're getting so much footage because this all goes up on YouTube. So many sound bites that have come up over the past how many months that I just feel like are getting buried on YouTube. But yeah, we have more than enough material for a quick video.
Oh God, I hadn't even thought of that. Duh, we have all this existing material. It's a matter of piecing it together. Totally. Okay, I love it. We need to do that.
Video people, your email.
You guys know that one commercial? It's like, see me. Isn't it like for psoriasis or something? We need something like that for dry eye, where like people do like quick snippets of their experience, you know? That would be good. And back to the subject of dry eye, I'm like, that's such a terrible name. First of all, it's too simple. And sometimes I say ocular surface disease because it sounds more eloquent and because it sounds more complicated. And people are like, oh, what's that? And then because dry eye is like, oh, okay, so you're having dry eye. I get that with my contacts. So that's my 2 cents on the name. And I second what Mandy says about bad eye days. When you're trying to communicate with somebody, I just say, okay, after talking to Mandy, I'm just going to, from now on, say I'm having a bad eye day. And that's it. I don't even go into detail because what's the point? So anyway, I do that as well. So thanks, Mandy, for that suggestion.
All right. I think one last thing, actually, Aiden, do you know if we have anybody that wants to join in the video?
Well, yeah, if anyone wants to kind of join into the conversation with video or audio, you can raise your hand at the bottom of your screen and I can add you to the group if you'd like. Awesome.
I think, while he's doing that, like one other thing that just comes to mind too about communication is acknowledging that this is the type of condition that like you need to take the lead on. You can't go to the optometrist or ophthalmologist and then just assume that they're gonna like magically hand you a solution. So you really have to like be in the driver's seat, which is not something I think we're used to doing. Like if you broke an arm or a leg, or if you got sick, you go to the doctor and you're like, heal me. And they're like, great, I just healed you. Like, here's some medicine or here's something to do and it's all good. But when that's not the case, you really need to be in the driver's seat of sort of like driving towards outcomes that you want, acknowledging that that's going to be hard and that may take many physicians and many visits and specialists and cross coordination amongst all of them. But I don't think I like truly got that until maybe a year ago, like 9 years into this. So that was like a really important like turning point for me personally.
That's a really important soundbite, speaking of, right there. This is the type of condition you need to take the lead on. And I'm just pondering once more the term dry eye and the ways that that leads us astray or works against us. I think when we're talking to other people, the term dry eye tells them that it's trivial, right? Because it sounds that way to people who don't get it, because the kind of dry eye you all and I have is not that dry eye, it's different. But that term also, I think for ourselves, it tells us this is something common and known, and I have the right to expect this, this, and this from my doctor, when that's not the case. Again, it's like there's this enormous dry eye spectrum, and the commonly known piece is over here, and we're over here. They don't know it, understand it. They don't know the neuropathic pain side of it. There's so many things. They don't understand why our dry eye symptoms just are so variable and why they don't correlate well with.
Well, it's almost because they've experienced it. Like a lot of people have experienced, like have had dry eye, And so when you say that, they're like, yeah, I've had that. Like, why are you making a big deal out of it?
Exactly. And how many
If
of
you
you
said
have
I have
seen an eye
Sjogren's disease, they would be like, wow, like, what is that? Like, are you okay? I'm so sorry to hear that. Or ocular surface disorder or something, you know, so totally agree.
Yeah. How many of you have been to an eye doctor who said, oh yeah, I have a dry eye too?
Definitely.
And you were like,
Definitely.
yeah, yours is with the, lowercase, mine's all caps. This is just kind of a different thing.
I was actually going to add to what you were saying about the video for people like getting a clip. I actually do remember there was a study, I believe, down in London, that what they wanted was they actually wanted people to come in from a certain age range to tell their experience about dry eye. And I think it would actually be a good idea if it was advertised and brought worldwide, basically, because I don't think people understand, because there's been many times where I've seen an advert for eye drops and they're like, oh, this helps and it does this, and it's soothing, and the amount of eye drops that I look at and it goes, oh, it's soothing, it's long lasting. When you put it in, it lasts for about 10 seconds, if that. And I'm like, no, that was such a lie. So I think it would be a good thing, because then I feel like at the end of it, maybe you could put your dry eye zone, or the link to Facebook, and say that it's actually help, because there might be people that are undiagnosed and struggling, and they don't realise it, because I think that's another problem that comes into this, that people don't realise the problem they have can actually be serious, and they don't know the severity of it. So that's just my thoughts on that.
Could I just say one thing, because I have to leave? First of all, a great thank you to you all. It's my first time that I take part in this meeting. I had dry eyes for 27 years, and it's so touching, because it's so moving to take part of all this, because I have been I think it's Mandy, being very quiet about it. I don't want to talk about it. I can't explain it to anyone. And it's a debilitating disease. And now I have a group. But I'm also very hopeful. I have an excellent doctor since 20 years in Houston, Alcaic Eye Center. And I'm going to stay with this group. I say thank you once again before I leave. And I also am very interested in all the new medications that are, we're waiting and hopeful about.
Thank you so much for joining, Madeline. I had my screen sort of shrunk, so I didn't see you right away. On the new medications, I just recently updated the drug pipeline list on Dry Eye Zone.
I saw that, and I'm thrilled.
I always find it encouraging to see how much is going on. I mean, there's always a few dropouts. There's some that just don't meet expectations, and they drop out, and there's more and more. And I know my list is never complete.
No, but it gives you hope. And I think with this, as someone put it, because it's I've been denying for 27 years, basically, that I have a disease, that I have a very severe disease, and I don't tell anyone. And it turned around some years ago when I got not Restasis, because I can't tolerate it, so they make a compound for me, and then I'm using Icurvis now, so I have a more normal life. But I mean, as you all know, it's a difficult disease. But for this time, I only want to thank you, because you're there, and I'm going to keep on coming back, and just thank you for being there. It was fascinating taking part in this. Fascinating, heartbreaking, and fascinating.
I'm glad you joined us.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting towards time to wrap up here. Just wanted to mention something actually from a phone call I had this morning. I was on a call with actually a patient advocacy executive of a major pharmaceutical company in Europe, and because there's a research sort of paper that we're working on. But we got onto this topic of dry eye and that term and how that interferes with communication. And I told him I don't get out there a lot saying this to people, but I told him, yeah, I hate that term. So he said, what would you use instead? And I told him what I always say when asked, which is, I think we actually have two different things. We have ocular surface disease on the one hand, and we have ocular surface pain on the other hand. That's the constellation of symptoms of whether we've got burning or foreign body sensation or light sensitivity, all of those things really technically are ocular surface pain. I think we have to be able to talk about them separately, but if it helps in communication, I am with Gigi and others on this. Ocular surface disease is a helpful term to use to get away from dry eye. Okay, running out of time here. Let's see, just briefly, upcoming dry eye happy hour sessions on December 4th and 18th. We're kind of taking a break from our usual thing. On the 4th, we're going to have the Dry Eye Foundation's board, much of them as we can muster. And we're just going to talk about what we're doing at the foundation, some of the ideas we've got and things we were planning for next year. And we'd love to have people join and send us all your questions, ask about what we're doing. If you're interested in volunteering in different ways, lots of things we can talk about there. And then on the 18th, I haven't let them know it yet, but I'm hoping to pull together as many alumni of Dry Eye Happy Hour as we can. Anyone who has been part of one of these sessions, we'd love to just have them back. And I'd like to hear from people that day. What was this like for you? I mean, for those who have done it, whether once or more, just what was that first time like? I'd like to encourage more people to participate next year. And I think hearing from you, what was this like? Did you spend a lot of time preparing? Were you nervous? Were you able to say the things you wanted to say and so on? I'd love to just hear those experiences that day and have people interact with people who've already been on it. So let's see, Aiden, can you maybe share just more resources for people?
Sure. Yeah, we had a lot of them today. I mean, there's the Dry Eye Zone, there's the Facebook groups, and I think that's where a lot of people have come together and where they've come from today. We also have Dry Eye Stories, which I don't think got mentioned, but it's a website, dryeyestories.com, with a number of submissions over the years of people who are very different places with dry eye, coming from different places, sharing their experience. And I think those are really good to read or listen to, because you can listen to some of them to get some perspective and even share with other people. I think that's one of the best resources we have right now, to share with other people who might not get it, or those written out ones, and we'll work on video and stuff soon. And Rebecca mentioned the survey at mydryeyedata.org. It's a long, intense survey that kind of goes into a lot of things that will help us, and we hope helps you as well to get into perspective what you've tried, what might be out there, and just where you're at specifically. And then the last resource is just us, the Dry Eye Foundation. You can reach us a lot of ways. info@dryeyefoundation.org goes straight to us, or you can call us at 800-4840-244, I think. Yeah. Yep. So put that in there. And we're on Facebook, kind of any way you can get in touch with us. I'm Aiden, dryeyefoundation.org. Rebecca's same, just her name at Dry Eye Foundation. So really want to talk to people as much as we can, and look forward to it.
Make sure it's spelled Aiden with 2 A's, not with E, if you want it to actually come through to him. Sorry to mention that, but I see people that spell that so much.
I did notice that Cindy or some other person who has our Zoom phone number showed up. So always like to say thank you to her, because she recruits for these as of recently. So if you have anything to say, Cindy, I think I'll.
Oh, is that Cindy there?
Yes, I'm so sorry. My eyes really suck after I had that surgery here 7 weeks ago. So my problems here were completely user error. I apologize.
You made it. Yeah.
No, the only thing I want to contribute to this is what do we think we need to change with our doctors? And I think that I have a team, just like Justin was suggesting. But I think what is missing with a lot of our specialists in ophthalmology is recognizing how dry eye affects all of the other eye diseases that some of us have, and how that all impacts because it does. And the choice of, say, glaucoma medications that they make can really make a difference with dry eye in making it worse.
So it just becomes so complicated to manage.
Cindy, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that about the other eye issues. So my mom's doctor started talking with her about getting cataract surgery. And I was like, hey, Mom, you need to pay attention to this information about what doctors, there's been some reports, some studies that, starting to use eye drops prior to it can lead to a better outcome. I haven't really read those, so I don't know. I've just read articles about it, so I don't know how well that's validated. But I was like, hey, Mom, I'm on the board of the Dry Eye Foundation. I've had this for 23 years. 23, yeah. And you should listen to me, because this is something that you hear a lot is after cataracts surgery, people start experiencing dry eye. And she has it somewhat, but there are a lot of other things that can cause or contribute to it and make it worse, or make people have to deal with or experience it. And so, Cindy, I think you raise a good issue. I don't know if I'm...
Yes. Well, and I've talked to Rebecca about this. The dry eye doesn't exist just in isolation. And once the dry eye becomes out of control, it can just spiral other diseases that you might have completely out of control. And I went through a particularly bad period here several years ago that started with an exacerbation of increasing dryness. And it was just this domino effect of affecting my corneas. I've got a corneal disease as well. And then I got uveitis. And then it sent my glaucoma out of control, where my pressures went sky high. And so we went around and around and around in a circle, because the more treatment that I required to get the glaucoma and the uveitis under control, the more dryness that I had. And it was just, it was a 3-year vicious cycle.
I'm sorry you have had to deal with that. It's no fun.
Yeah, and I think that the dryness is not, the chronic severe dry eye is just not recognized by all of our specialists as to just how much it can impact other diseases and other conditions that we have. I think it's under-recognized.
Yeah, and I think that's the point I was trying to make, is that I was like, hey, Mom, talk to your doctor about this. I'm kind of going in reverse, that, that cataract surgery could worsen her dry eye, but you're talking about dry eye worsening other eye problems or exacerbating them. But I think it's the same point of talking to your doctor and trying to educate them on that there are severe issues that are repercussions of either dry eye or of surgeries.
I think that there's
right, yeah.
There's overlap that just isn't that well recognized. So for example, dry eye and cataract surgery, it's become better known that you can have dry eye get worse after cataract surgery and all that. But there's also just the question of actually the visual outcome from any eye surgery can be worse if dry eye isn't under control at the time of the surgery too. So it's just more complicated. And I think hyper specialization of medical care sometimes isn't our friend. We want the glaucoma doc talking to the cornea doc and the oculoplastic doc. We want them all at the water cooler pooling their information to really help us best. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up now. Thank you, everybody. I know we've lost a few along the way here. Natalie, a special thank you to you for just being with us at what is it, past midnight where you are now? I really appreciate it. And it was nice to meet you, Madeline. And Cindy, I'm sorry it didn't work out to have you on earlier. We will have other times. Thank you for jumping in at the end. And most of all, thank you for helping to connect people who are interested in being part of this. I just so much appreciate efforts. All right. Well, we will see everybody next time. And for those that are here in the US, just wishing everybody safe holidays next week too.
All right, good to see everyone.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Good to see you
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.